And welcome back to the fourth part of this fanfiction reading on You Belong With Me. So this is technically the last chapter, and I don't know if I'll even be making another part of this because of just, I don't know, whatever. And we'll worry about this when we get to the end of this. So, Yang's POV. I sat down at the table, my brow furrowed in confusion. Was he trying to hit on Blake? Anger welled up inside of me, bubbling inside. Bubbling inside of me and at risk to explode. Blake looked up to me as angry as I was, and I was furious. She's mine, I glared, son, hoping to get the mental message to him. He looks to me, fear in his eyes, which I could only guess was a result of my anger. Blake touched my arm in an effort to calm me, and it worked in an instant. I regained my senses, took a deep breath, and sat down next to her. What's happening to you? I asked myself. On a normal day, any other day, I wouldn't have taken orders from a girl, a very beautiful one at that, to calm down, no matter what was at stake. Maybe it's for the best. Blake looked at me, scanning my features to make sure that I was okay, that I wouldn't be harming anyone before the bell. I gave her a small smile, hoping to reassure her that I was fine, and wouldn't be going on any kind of rampage today. She smiled back as she realized this, and for a split second, I feared she could read my mind. Blake turned back to her tray to find that the middle compartment was scattered with rice. Sighing, she stood up and silently walked to the garbage line, leaving me alone at the table. After what seemed like an eternity, Blake came back, holding something in her hand, a small smile playing at her lips. What you got there? I asked her casually, a hint of flirtation in my voice, hoping that she might pick up on it and give me a quick kiss. Nothing. She shoved it into her pocket with such force that caused my hopes of a kiss to crumble in front of me. Blake sat down beside me, making no effort to show me what she'd found. I gave her puppy eyes, looking deep into her eyes, and sometimes sneaking a peek at those gorgeous full lips, causing me to dream up a small fantasy in my head. Blake spoke up, pulling me from my fantasies and bringing me back to reality. So, how are classes going? How's math? She gives me a hopeful smile, probably wondering if my tutoring has been helping. I give her a smile back, one that hopefully tells her that it's been getting better, even though it hasn't. I had no intention of ruining her day this early. She nods, waiting for an answer, leaning her head in to further her point. I laugh with a nervous hint in my voice, hoping and praying that she doesn't pick up on it. It's been better, I tell her with another smile that's almost too energetic. Damn it. Blake raises her eyebrows, giving me a straight lip smile, instantly telling me she's buying it for a second. She folds her arms. Don't lie to me, Yang, she tells me with a splash of anger, and don't mess with me or I'll bite your head off, in her voice clear as day. I tap my fingers quickly on the table, making a beat. It's something that I always do when I'm nervous, something I can't help, and Blake knows that. Blake gives me a look, and I know it's probably in my best interest to answer her truthfully and quickly. Yeah, okay, maybe not. I tell her, shifting my gaze down to the seats and setting my sights on a pattern in the wood, willing myself to focus all my attention to it so that I wouldn't have to see Blake angry. She looks at me intently and lets out a breath, one that I couldn't tell she'd been holding in. She nods as if she'd come to terms with my math grade, and stands up. Come over later so we can continue with the tutoring. She tells me with a small smile, telling me that the newly surfaced anger had begun to fade before my eyes. I nodded at her. It's a date. I gave her a wide grin just as the bell rings, forcing us to part ways. Oh. Blake's POV. I walk away from the lunchroom at top speed, not taking the chance of being late to class again. I already had 3 late marks for Professor Port, and I couldn't risk getting detention for anything. I walk into class and sit in the back corner, the part that's covered in shadows, and try to stay out of sight as possible. As out of sight as whatever. Professor Port sits at his desk, grading papers and eating leftovers of microwave orange chicken, which smelled like heaven from the back of the room. He looks up for a split second to the clock right above my head, and I'm hoping that he doesn't glance my way instead of a very awkward conversation. But of course he does. He smiles to me, which is very hard to see under his mustache. I'd have to imagine. I smile back as he speaks up. Blake, thank you for being here on time, he says in a sort of passive-aggressive way. Everything in me tells me to give him a polite smile and not to continue the conversation, for if I did, I'd never end. I smile his way politely, but hopefully not giving off the impression that I wanted to talk, because I didn't. He nods and waits for me to say something back, like always. I sigh and look down at my desk, pretending to work on something from before class, and hoping that he'll get the hint. After a while he does. He turns back to his work and continues to grade papers, leaving an awkward tension between us, followed a space and silence that I felt personally responsible for breaking, even though I had no intention of doing so. Class starts shortly after, and Professor Port instantly starts to tell yet another story from his glory days. Meanwhile, I can think about it as a dance and Yang and our date for tutoring, which I'm still surprised I didn't correct. I usually would with anyone else, so why hadn't I with Yang? I shrug it off. It's no big deal. I look up to the professor, waiting for him to be done with story time and actually start teaching. According to half my friends, we're a week behind because of it. I'm starting to sound like Weiss. I shiver at the thought. Girls like her bother me, thinking that they could do whatever they want and say whatever they want just because they're rich and daddy would clean it all up in the end. Oh boy. I sighed and shook off bitterness from my shoulders, refusing to let myself get into it. Professor Porter had finally started to teach as we got to the halfway mark of class. Thank God. It sounds like math today. God, that was ridiculous. Sitting there on my phone while the teacher's just talking and talking about random stuff that happened, like, during the weekend. I mean, like, sports, but, like, geez. Not just, like, random family things. That would be even weirder. Anyways, I focused all my remaining attention after my little rant on his voice and what he was saying about something that I had no intention of ever using outside of school. Class went by quickly. He gave out a worksheet 10 minutes before class ended after finishing his lecture, and I managed to get most of the questions answered without too much trouble or confusion. I stood up, books held in the crook of my arm, and walked out of class actually feeling proud and energized. Being productive does that to me sometimes. Of course, I saw Yang on my way to 4th hour English. Yang smiled to me, waving her hand dramatically over the crowd, trying desperately to get my, I'm guessing I'm supposed to say my attention. I smiled at the effort. Adorable. I stopped and waited for her to catch up, watching her dodge and loop through the crowd in an attempt to get to me quicker. Yang gave me a smile like the sun. She was obviously happy about something. I gave her a smile back. I was happy, but I wasn't going out of my way to show it, especially to Yang, who would poke and pry until she knew why. We walked and talked for what seemed like hours, and happy ones at that. So the intercom came on, broadcasting the voice of Principal Ozpin, who, based on the sound of his voice, didn't sound happy in the slightest. Good afternoon, Beacon Academy. I regret to inform you that the dance has been canceled. Wah wah. So, this is technically where it ends. It was last updated June 23rd of 2017, which is roughly 6 months ago. Well, actually, it's almost 7 months ago. It's probably after 7 months once this is uploaded, but it's probably more than 7 months once this gets uploaded. But yeah, apparently they have an idea to make this better, but they obviously haven't done that. So technically, this is over. I mean, at least the episode is over because we don't have anything else to read. But maybe this book is over. I don't really know. It's kind of annoying that I have to deal with this, but whatever. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, that is as much as I can go over for You Belong With Me. Next time we will have a different fan fiction, and maybe it'll be, slightly less, or have a slightly less annoying ending. Yeah, that's it.